Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Tuesday the 10th of April 2018. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @ds_Pepperstone. Right, let's take a look at overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. I'm just going to flag a couple of points this morning. First of all, a bit of a bounce back once more in the Antipodean currencies, the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar, up against the US counterpart by about 0.4 and 0.27% respectively shortly before we recorded the video. The dollar itself has rallied against the Japanese yen only modestly, 0.38%, nothing major, but it keeps the yen above a 107 handle. That's come actually at the same time as the dollar has slipped back below 90 when expressed by a dollar index. So some slightly contradictory moves there. There's certainly lots of interesting moves going on in the FX markets, if not major ones at the moment. In the world of cryptos, a bit of a false flag yesterday perhaps in both Bitcoin and Ether. The promising start to the day actually fizzled out, although Ether has started to move higher this morning, up by around 0.82%. Whether it can continue to do that is the question, I suppose, on most people's minds. Right, what's on the calendar? Events that may move the markets today. A reasonably compact calendar, but still enough for us to pay attention to. First of all, we've had the NAB, National Australia Bank's business confidence data for March out of Australia. Both of those numbers coming in well below forecast, so further disappointment perhaps for the Australian economy. To come at 8:30 GMT, we have the first of today's central bank speeches, FOMC member Kaplan speaking at 8:30, and he's followed by Andy Haldane, the Bank of England's chief economist, speaking at 9:30 GMT. Leap forward then to 12:15 GMT and we'll have Canadian housing starts for March. That's the first of the two housing data points out of Canada today, interspersed by the first of this week's US inflation reports, in this instance PPI index data for March, month on month and year on year data being released then, and at 12:30 the second of our Canadian housing data points today, building permits for February. Fast forward then to 1400 and we'll have wholesale inventories data for February out of the US. Quite an important data point this, but often overlooked. And then at 1530 a 4-week bill auction out of the States, and that's followed at 1700 by a 3-year Treasury note auction from the US. And at 2030, if you're still in the markets, you can see the API weekly crude stock data released. Right then, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. Firstly, China's President Xi has made a conciliatory speech in which he promises to open up Chinese markets and reduce barriers. And he said that Cold War thinking around trade is now out of date. Meanwhile, in Washington, the FBI has raided the offices of President Trump's attorney and seized documents relating to the president. UK retail sales have grown by 1.4% on a like-for-like basis and 2.3% on a total basis during March, despite a bout of cold weather, according to the British Retail Consortium. And Russian markets are hammered, and I think that is the only word to use, by the latest round of US sanctions, with both currency and stocks in the country falling sharply on Monday. Right then, food for thought, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Well, why not think about this? First quarter 2018 earnings season for US stocks is likely to be boosted by recent corporate tax cuts in the USA. And earnings growth is expected to be in excess of 17% for the S&P 500 equities. But the Congressional Budget Office has shared forecasts that show the other side of the coin, in the form of the shortfall in US government finances that may result in a deficit of $1 trillion by 2020, and you can see the scale of the deficit. This is the actual numbers here. These are the projections in the slightly lighter shading, and as the CBO points out, the projected deficits will exceed the 50-year average through 2018 all the way out to 2028. So food for thought there. Right, please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or the suitability of the products for you, then please contact your Pepperstone account representative.